Life debt demands marriage payment. Human hero accepts ancient price. Captain Elias Kane had never been a man to look for trouble. Yet, trouble had a way of finding him, especially in the far reaches of the galaxy where the stars themselves seemed indifferent to human life. On this day, as he piloted his small but sturdy starship, the Aurora's Edge, through the dense asteroid belt of the Marnis sector, trouble arrived in the form of a Thalkari raiding vessel. The Thalkari were known throughout the galaxy for their strict codes of honor and their formidable warriors. Their ships were sleek, fast, and deadly, designed to strike and vanish before their prey even realized they were under attack. Elias had expected pirates or smugglers on this route, not a fully armed vessel of the Thalkari. Yet here they were, their weapons charging with lethal energy, their alien silhouettes visible through the ship's hull as they closed in. "Not today," Elias muttered, tightening his grip on the controls. His ship was smaller and less powerful, but humans had a gift, creativity under pressure. He launched a series of feints and sudden course changes, darting among asteroids that the larger Thalkari craft could not navigate. Explosions lit up the void behind him, but Elias pressed on, refusing to give up. Then, through the chaos, he saw her. A small escape pod was tumbling from one of the Thalkari ships, its markings unmistakable, the insignia of the royal matriarch. Without thinking, he maneuvered the Aurora's Edge to intercept it, bracing for the impact. The pod slammed against his ship's hull, sending a jolt through the cockpit. He wrestled with the controls, stabilizing both craft. Inside, the matriarch, Seraphine of the Thalkari, was unconscious, her intricate armor cracked but intact. Elias had no choice. He engaged the pod's emergency systems, dragging it into the cargo hold. Once Seraphine was secured, he activated the ship's defensive systems. The Thalkari attackers were relentless, but Elias used the terrain, the debris, and even the ship's limited weaponry to create chaos among their ranks. By the time the Thalkari retreated, the Aurora's Edge had survived with only minor damage, and Seraphine was alive. Elias exhaled, relief flooding him, though he did not yet understand the consequences of his actions. The Thalkari, like many alien civilizations, had customs older than most human records, customs that did not forgive or forget. Saving a life, especially the life of a matriarch, was more than an act of heroism. It was a binding responsibility. When Seraphine awoke, the first thing she saw was Elias leaning over her, human eyes wide with concern. She studied him for a long moment, her alien features unreadable. Then, in a voice that carried the weight of generations, she said, "You owe a life debt. By saving me, you have bound yourself to my family." Elias blinked, taken aback. "Life debt? I didn't do anything except save you." "You cannot deny the law," she replied. "To save a Thalkari's life is to accept the consequences. The debt is repaid through union, marriage into the family." The words struck Elias like a thunderbolt. Marriage to her family. He had faced death in asteroid fields, in firefights in the silence of deep space, but this was new. The human mind, however, was quick to adapt, and Elias was no ordinary human. He nodded slowly. "If that is the law, then I will honor it." Seraphine's eyes softened slightly. She had not expected such immediate compliance. Many who tried to escape the debt had failed, either by alien enforcement or by the dishonor they brought upon themselves. Elias, by contrast, had the courage of acceptance. "You will come to my homeworld," she said. "There your worthiness will be tested." The journey to the Thalkari homeworld was long, giving Elias time to learn more about his fate. He observed Seraphine as she healed, noticing the elegance of her movements, the intelligence in her gaze, and the subtle strength that belied her delicate appearance. Humans were not known for subtlety and diplomacy, but he had a talent for reading people, and even without words, he felt an understanding forming between them. Upon arrival, Elias was struck by the beauty of the Thalkari homeworld. Towering crystal cities reflected the twin suns, while gardens floated midair, supported by unknown forces. The air itself seemed alive with energy, humming faintly under his feet. Despite its beauty, he knew he was far from safe. Alien societies were rarely forgiving of outsiders, especially humans, who were considered unpredictable and sometimes reckless. He was brought before the Council of Elders, a group of formidable Thalkari who judged matters of law and honor. Each elder was draped in ceremonial garb, their voices resonating like chimes in the grand hall. Elias knelt as required and awaited their judgment. "You are human," one elder said, his tone almost amused. Yet you saved our matriarch. You understand the debt that now binds you. I do, Elias replied, steady and respectful. I accept it. The council exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Then another elder spoke. Life debt is not merely a promise of service. It is a test of worthiness. You will undergo trials to prove your courage, your wisdom, and your compassion. Only then will the union be sanctioned. Elias nodded, feeling a strange thrill. Humans were not known for following rules blindly, but they were masters of adaptation. If this was a test, he would face it head-on. The trials began with physical challenges designed to test strength, agility, and reflexes. Elias maneuvered through obstacle courses that twisted and turned unpredictably, his human reflexes allowing him to survive where many aliens would fail. Then came puzzles and challenges of logic, testing his intellect. The Thalkari were ancient, their minds trained over centuries, but Elias had a knack for thinking outside conventional patterns. He solved each challenge in ways the council did not anticipate, earning quiet admiration. The final trial was one of empathy and compassion. He was placed in a simulation where he faced moral dilemmas, choosing between saving a single life or many, balancing risk and sacrifice. Elias made his choices carefully, guided not by ambition, but by a sense of fairness and humanity. When the trial ended, the council was silent, a rare acknowledgement of respect. You have done well, said the eldest of the council. Yet the final decision rests with the matriarch herself. Seraphine, do you accept this human as your bond? Seraphine stood, her form regal and composed. She studied Elias with eyes that seemed to look through him and yet understood him completely. He has proven courage, intellect, and compassion, she said. I accept him, but this bond is more than a ceremony. It will tie our lives together, share our strength, and challenge us both. Elias felt the weight of her words, understanding that this union was not mere obligation. It was powerful, sacred, and transformative. He bowed deeply. Then I am ready. As the ceremony was prepared, Elias reflected on his journey. He had saved a life without expecting anything in return. He had faced challenges that tested his body, mind, and heart. Now he stood on the brink of a bond that would change him, unlock potential he had not yet imagined, and thrust him into the center of a galaxy that was far larger and stranger than he had ever known. The sun dipped below the crystal towers as the council observed in silence. Elias and Seraphine approached the ceremonial altar, their hands brushing briefly, a spark of understanding passing between them. This was only the beginning. Humans had always thrived in adversity, and Elias knew that whatever the life debt demanded, he would rise to meet it. In that moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, witnessing the beginning of a partnership that would be talked about for generations. Captain Elias Kane, human hero, had accepted the ancient price. And in doing so, he had taken the first step toward a future where humans were not just participants in galactic history. They were shapers of it. Captain Elias Kane felt a strange mix of excitement and uncertainty as he and Seraphine stood together on the Thalkari ceremonial platform. The twin suns of her homeworld bathed the crystal towers in gold and rose hues, reflecting light in every direction. It was beautiful, almost surreal, yet Elias knew that beauty did not mean safety. The galaxy was vast, full of threats, and now he was bound not only by duty but by a life bond he barely understood. The bond, Seraphine explained later, was more than legal or ceremonial. It connected their life forces in ways humans had never experienced. Strength, senses, and awareness could be shared. The bond would challenge them both, forcing trust, cooperation, and understanding. Elias listened carefully, absorbing every detail. Humans thrived on adaptability, and he sensed that the life bond could unlock powers he had never imagined. Their first days together were awkward. Elias was a human, impulsive, and direct. Seraphine was Thalkari, disciplined and precise. Simple tasks, like walking through the floating gardens or navigating the crystal halls, became exercises in cooperation. Elias stumbled over Thalkari etiquette, nearly insulting elders, and Seraphine's sharp reactions reminded him that this was no ordinary partnership. Yet each challenge brought them closer. He began to anticipate her movements, and she started trusting his instincts in ways she had never allowed before. It was during these moments of adaptation that the first signs of their combined potential appeared. Ilias noticed subtle changes in himself. His reflexes felt faster, his mind clearer. When he extended his hand, he could sense Seraphine's presence in ways that went beyond sight or sound. Seraphine, too, discovered new abilities. She could anticipate outcomes, make decisions with human unpredictability that her species usually avoided. Together, they were stronger than they had imagined. The true test came sooner than expected. Rumors had spread across the galaxy of the Thalkari-human bond, and not all species welcomed it. A coalition of alien civilizations, fearing the combination of human ingenuity and Thalkari power, declared their intent to attack. Their fleets were massive, far exceeding anything Ilias had faced before. Yet he did not panic. Panic had never helped a human, and humans thrived when thinking creatively under pressure. Ilias and Seraphine studied the approaching fleet from the command deck of the Thalkari flagship. Seraphine's species was disciplined, preferring structured strategies, while Ilias suggested approaches that were unpredictable, risky, but potentially decisive. The first skirmish proved the value of their cooperation. Ilias piloted a squadron of small, human-style ships, weaving through asteroid fields and using unconventional tactics to disrupt the enemy fleet. Seraphine coordinated with the larger Thalkari vessels, using her knowledge of alien strategies to predict enemy movements. Together, they formed a pattern no opponent could anticipate. Enemy ships collided or were forced into traps, and the coalition began to realize that this was not a simple battle. It was something new, something they had not prepared for. During the chaos, Ilias risked himself to save a group of Thalkari pilots trapped in a collapsing corridor. Without hesitation, he maneuvered through debris and fire, reaching them in time. The life bond enhanced his courage and focus, allowing him to act with precision beyond normal human capability. Seraphine, sensing his presence, assisted remotely, guiding him through hazards he could barely see. Their teamwork saved dozens of lives, cementing their trust in each other. After the skirmish, Ilias and Seraphine reviewed the battle outcomes. It was clear that humans brought something to the galaxy that aliens often underestimated: creativity, adaptability, and courage. The Thalkari elders had been impressed with Ilias during his trials, but this was different. The coalition fleets were formidable, yet humans could turn adversity into advantage. Ilias realized that being human was not just about survival. It was about turning the unexpected into opportunity. The coalition, angered by repeated failures, launched a final attack on the Thalkari capital. Their plan was ruthless: destroy the city, capture the matriarch, and force submission. Ilias and Seraphine knew the only way to succeed was to combine their strengths fully. They entered the battle together, their bond now fully active. Every movement, every decision was synchronized. Human instinct and Thalkari discipline merged into a force neither species could achieve alone. In the heart of the battle, Ilias piloted a fast strike craft directly into the enemy command vessel. He knew it was dangerous, but humans excelled at risks others would never take. Using maneuvers no alien had ever anticipated, he bypassed shields, infiltrated the command deck, and disabled their coordination systems. Seraphine linked through the bond, amplified his perception, guiding him to critical targets with precision. Together, they turned the tide in moments. The coalition was forced to retreat, their fleets scattered and demoralized. Across the galaxy, word spread of the human-Thalkari partnership, a combination of courage, intellect, and unpredictability that no species had seen before. Ilias stood on the bridge, breathing heavily, aware of how far he had come. From saving a single life in an asteroid belt to facing a massive interstellar threat, humans had proven they were more than clever. They were essential to the future of the galaxy. In the aftermath, the Thalkari elders formally recognized the bond. Ilias had not only honored the life debt but had exceeded all expectations. Humans, they declared, were not just outsiders, they were partners in the shaping of galactic history. Seraphine stood beside him, her expression a mixture of pride and admiration. They had faced the galaxy together, and in doing so, they had transformed the way civilizations viewed humans. Life settled into a new rhythm. Ilias continued to learn about the Thalkari culture, exploring their cities, their floating gardens, and even their private training grounds. He taught Seraphine and her people small lessons in human ingenuity, simple but effective strategies for problem-solving that often caught them by surprise. They laughed together, debated tactics, and shared stories of their worlds. The life bond deepened, not as a law, but as a genuine partnership. Through it all, Elias never forgot the lesson of the asteroid belt. Courage and action mattered. Humans were defined not by size or technology, but by heart, mind, and spirit. That spirit had carried him from a simple rescue mission to the center of galactic affairs. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown threats, but humans were ready. They had proven themselves worthy. Seraphine and Elias often walked together on the floating terraces, watching twin suns set over the crystal towers. "You humans are remarkable," she said once, her voice soft. "I understand now why the elders feared and yet respected your species." Elias smiled. "We're good at surviving and surprising." The galaxy, it seemed, had never seen anything like them. A human hero and a Thalkari matriarch, bonded not by obligation alone, but by respect, courage, and shared destiny. They had taken a debt, an ancient law, and turned it into something new, a force capable of changing the course of civilizations. As the stars appeared above the city, Elias felt the pull of new adventures. The bond had opened doors he had never imagined. Other civilizations would test them, challenges would arise, and the galaxy would demand more than either species could provide alone. But together, human unpredictability and Thalkari wisdom could achieve the impossible. The bond was not just a repayment of a life debt. It was a promise, a statement, and a challenge to the entire galaxy. Humans were not simply participants in the universe, they were shapers of it. Elias looked at Seraphine, her eyes reflecting the starlight, and knew this was only the beginning. Whatever the galaxy demanded next, humans would rise. Not because they were the strongest, but because they were clever, courageous, and unyielding in the face of the unknown. And Captain Elias Kane would lead the way. Captain Elias Kane had grown accustomed to the quiet of Thalkari crystal halls, but he knew calm rarely lasted long in the galaxy. The human's reputation had spread like wildfire, and with it came both opportunity and danger. Aliens who had once dismissed humanity now watched with curiosity, awe, and sometimes fear. Elias could feel it everywhere, in meetings with interstellar envoys, in whispers among the docked ships, and in the subtle tension of patrols near the Thalkari homeworld. Seraphine noticed it too. The bond they shared made it impossible to hide emotions. When Elias felt unease, so did she. When he grew thoughtful, she became attentive, often completing his sentences with insight that startled him. The bond was no longer a simple connection. It was a partnership, a merging of perspectives that amplified both their strengths. Humans were unpredictable, she realized, but in combination with Thalkari discipline, that unpredictability became a weapon unlike any the galaxy had seen. One morning, alarms rang across the city. Sensors had detected an unknown fleet entering Thalkari space. Unlike previous threats, this fleet moved cautiously, strategically, almost as if it had studied the Thalkari and their new human ally. The ships were massive, dark, and silent, their shapes angular and unfamiliar. Elias felt a thrill of anticipation. Humans thrived in uncertainty, and he could already imagine countless ways to turn this new threat to advantage. Seraphine met him at the bridge, her expression unreadable but tense. "They are not ordinary aggressors," she said. "Their tactics are unlike any we have encountered. They study before they strike." Elias smiled faintly, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "Then we'll give them a reason to regret it. Humans are good at adapting to the unexpected." Their first encounter was at the edge of the asteroid belt that surrounded the Thalkari homeworld. The alien fleet tested them with probes, small attack vessels that darted forward and vanished as quickly as they came. Elias led a squadron of human pilots in response, combining human improvisation with Thalkari coordination. The probes were neutralized, but it was only a test. Elias knew the real battle would come soon, and this time it would not be simple. Back on the bridge, Seraphine examined the fleet's formations. "They anticipate our moves," she said. "They are cautious, patient, and skilled. They are not reckless like most species. This is deliberate." Elias leaned over the control panel, studying the holographic projection. "Then let's give them something they didn't plan for. The human's edge is chaos, controlled chaos. We'll show them that unpredictability can be deadly." Their strategy combined human ingenuity with Thalkari precision. Instead of a direct assault, they feigned weakness. retreating into the asteroid fields while setting traps that exploited the alien fleet's rigidity. Human pilots flew in daring maneuvers, weaving between debris in ways the aliens could not follow. Thalkari vessels struck from unexpected angles, coordinated perfectly with Elia's improvisation. The alien fleet began to falter, confusion spreading among their ranks. During the fight, Elias and Seraphine were linked like never before. Through the bond, he could sense her intentions before she acted, and she could anticipate his boldest maneuvers. Together, they became a single force, human creativity and Thalkari skill intertwined. They executed a daring plan, splitting the alien fleet and capturing their command vessel with minimal loss. The enemy's retreat was swift and disorganized, and the Thalkari homeworld remained safe. After the battle, the council summoned them to address the victory. Elders rarely praised humans, but this time their words carried respect. "Captain Elias Kane," the eldest said, "you have proven that humans are not just survivors but innovators. Your bond with Seraphine has reshaped the understanding of partnership across species. You have honored the life debt and transformed it into a force that even centuries of tradition could not predict." Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. Saving a life, accepting a bond, and now defending an entire world, it had been a journey unlike any other. But he knew the galaxy was vast, and threats would always emerge. The human's advantage lay not in strength alone, but in the ability to face the unknown without fear and to act decisively. Days later, a delegation from another star system arrived, seeking alliance. They had observed the human-Thalkari partnership and wanted to understand the source of their success. Elias and Seraphine hosted them in the floating gardens, demonstrating strategies, training techniques, and the way their bond enhanced coordination. Human improvisation amazed the aliens. Seraphine's disciplined approach complemented it, creating lessons in strategy, empathy, and resilience. The delegation left with a new perspective on humans. In their travels, they would spread tales of a species that could think quickly, act boldly, and adapt in ways no other civilization could match. Elias smiled at this thought. Humans were no longer just observers. They were becoming influential, shaping alliances and challenging old prejudices across the galaxy. One evening, as Elias and Seraphine stood on a terrace watching twin suns set, she spoke softly. "You have changed my people's perception of humans, and in the process you have changed me." Elias took her hand, feeling the bond pulse gently between them. "Humans adapt. That's all we've ever done, but it's easier when you have someone to trust." Their lives settled into a rhythm of preparation, learning, and defense. Yet the bond continued to evolve. Elias discovered that humans could sense not just immediate dangers but possibilities, outcomes that others did not consider. Seraphine found that Thalkari intuition, combined with his insight, allowed them to anticipate threats long before they arrived. Together, they became a force that others could rely on but never predict fully. Months passed, and the galaxy began to recognize the human-Thalkari alliance as a model. Humans were sought after as negotiators, strategists, and explorers. Elias often traveled to distant systems, demonstrating the value of creativity, courage, and innovation. Each success reinforced the message. Humans were not just participants. They were shapers of events, capable of influencing civilizations that had existed for millennia. Yet not all challenges were external. Within the Thalkari culture, some still doubted the bond, worried about human unpredictability. Elias faced subtle tests, designed to probe his judgment, loyalty, and morality. Each time, he relied on human adaptability and Seraphine's guidance, turning doubt into respect. Slowly, skeptics became allies, convinced that the combination of human ingenuity and Thalkari discipline was greater than the sum of its parts. One day, a distress signal reached them from a faraway colony under threat from a previously unknown species. Elias did not hesitate. Humans thrived in action, and waiting was not an option. He and Seraphine mobilized forces, combining speed, strategy, and improvisation. The mission was dangerous, but it was also an opportunity to demonstrate what humans could achieve. Through clever tactics, they neutralized the threat with minimal casualties. Colonists hailed Elias as a hero, and news spread quickly. The galaxy began to understand a simple truth. Human courage, intelligence, and adaptability could solve problems no other species could. The bond with Seraphine amplified these qualities, proving that humans were extraordinary not because of technology alone, but because of what they could do with it. In quiet moments, Elias reflected on the journey. From the day he rescued Seraphine to the victories across the galaxy, humans had proven themselves exceptional. They were clever, daring, and resilient. The life debt that had seemed a burden had transformed into an opportunity, unlocking abilities, forging alliances, and reshaping perceptions. Seraphine, standing beside him, watched the stars. "The galaxy will challenge us again," she said, "but together we can face anything." Elias nodded, feeling the steady pulse of their bond. "We humans have a way of rising to the occasion, and I've learned that with the right partner, nothing is impossible." The bond was no longer simply a repayment of an ancient debt. It had become a symbol of what humans could offer: courage, creativity, and the will to face the unknown. Across star systems, the reputation of humans grew, not through conquest but through action, ingenuity, and partnership. Elias had begun as a lone captain, but he had become a symbol of human potential, a reminder that even in a galaxy of ancient civilizations, humans could leave their mark. As twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across crystal towers and floating gardens, Elias and Seraphine prepared for the next journey. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities, but humans thrived where others faltered. With courage, cleverness, and the bond they shared, there was nothing they could not face. Captain Elias Kane, human hero, had taken a life debt, accepted its demands, and turned it into something greater than anyone could have imagined. The galaxy now knew what humans were capable of, shaping history, redefining alliances, and proving that courage, intelligence, and heart could overcome any obstacle. And this was only the beginning. Captain Elias Kane had thought he had seen it all: the vast reaches of space, the unexpected attacks, the uncharted territories. But the galaxy had a way of humbling even the most experienced humans. Months had passed since the last battle, and while peace had settled over the Thalkari homeworld, it was fragile. Rumors whispered through the stars of a new faction rising, a coalition unlike any before, one that sought to challenge the growing influence of humans and Thalkari alike. Elias and Seraphine stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the outer sectors for signs of movement. The twin suns of the Thalkari world reflected off the crystal towers, casting long shadows across the city below. Elias adjusted the ship's sensors, scanning for the faintest signals of enemy activity. Humans had a reputation for quick thinking and improvisation, and Elias intended to prove it once again. Seraphine, her expression calm yet alert, placed a hand on his arm. "I sense unease in the neighboring systems," she said. "The faction is growing stronger. They may not strike today, but they are planning, and they will strike soon." Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Humans thrived under pressure, and he had learned that preparation and adaptability were just as important as courage. "Then we prepare," he said. "We anticipate. We outthink them before they act." Their first move was intelligence. Elias assembled a team of human and Thalkari operatives to infiltrate the faction's territory and gather information. Humans were naturally inventive, able to blend into unexpected environments, while the Thalkari contributed discipline, patience, and analytical skill. Together, they became an unstoppable reconnaissance force. The team discovered that the faction was amassing advanced warships, some powered by unknown technology. They had developed tactics designed to exploit weaknesses in traditional fleets, strategies that even Thalkari elders had not encountered. The intelligence was worrying, but Elias saw opportunity. Humans excelled at turning threats into advantages. He began to formulate a plan, one that would use unpredictability as a weapon against an enemy that relied on rigid strategy. Elias and Seraphine led the fleet into the asteroid belt, using its twisting paths and debris fields as natural cover. The faction followed, confident in their superior numbers and technology. Elias piloted the lead strike craft with Seraphine connected through the bond, guiding him with precise insight. Human ingenuity and Thalkari skill combined, creating maneuvers the enemy could not predict. The battle began with small skirmishes, probing attacks that tested each side's limits. The faction expected a traditional confrontation, but Elias refused to fight conventionally. He led his squadron in daring maneuvers through narrow asteroid channels, using their compact size and speed to harass the larger vessels. Seraphine coordinated the fleet's main forces, striking at the enemy from unexpected angles while Elias exploited weaknesses in their formation. As the fight intensified, Elias noticed an unusual pattern in the enemy's movements. They were relying on automated systems that predicted standard tactics, systems that could not account for human unpredictability. He shared his observations with Seraphine, and together they devised a plan to use the enemy's own calculations against them. Elias piloted a small craft directly into the heart of the faction's formation, drawing attention and triggering defensive responses. At the same time, Seraphine directed the fleet to target the blind spots he had identified. The enemy's automated systems struggled to adjust, and confusion spread among their ranks. Human intuition, combined with Thalkari precision, created chaos in the enemy fleet, and their advantage began to crumble. In the midst of the battle, Elias made a daring move. He led a small team to disable the faction's command vessel, using tactics no alien species had anticipated. The strike was risky, and several team members faced danger, but humans were capable of improvising in life-or-death situations. Seraphine guided him remotely, their bond allowing seamless coordination even in the chaos of battle. The command vessel fell, and with it, the faction's ability to coordinate. Victory came swiftly after that. The enemy fleet scattered, retreating to regroup, and the Thalkari homeworld remained safe. Elders praised Elias and Seraphine, recognizing not only the success of the mission but the significance of the bond between human and Thalkari. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were partners, leaders, and symbols of possibility across the galaxy. After the battle, Elias and Seraphine returned to the Floating Gardens, a place of tranquility amidst the ongoing challenges of galactic politics. The bond between them had deepened, not just as a tool of strategy, but as a connection of trust, understanding, and mutual respect. They spent hours discussing tactics, history, and philosophy, learning from each other in ways neither had expected. Humans brought creativity and boldness, while the Thalkari contributed patience and insight. Together, they became more than the sum of their parts. As weeks passed, the galaxy began to recognize humans not just as survivors, but as essential players in the unfolding story of interstellar civilization. Elias traveled to distant systems, negotiating alliances, mediating disputes, and demonstrating the value of human intuition and courage. Everywhere he went, the reputation of humans grew. They were clever, adaptable, and fearless, qualities that other civilizations had once underestimated. Despite the growing fame, Elias remained grounded. Humans thrived on humility and observation, and he knew that arrogance could be fatal. Every mission, every negotiation, every battle was an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, and humans were best equipped to navigate it because of their willingness to embrace uncertainty and take calculated risks. One evening, as twin suns set over the crystal towers, Elias and Seraphine reflected on their journey. The bond had transformed from obligation into partnership, from duty into genuine friendship, and from challenge into shared purpose. "The galaxy will always test us," Elias said, "but we've learned that together we can meet any challenge." Seraphine nodded, her gaze steady. "Humans are remarkable. I understand now why my ancestors feared yet respected your kind. You are unpredictable, yes, but also capable of incredible loyalty, courage, and ingenuity." The months that followed were filled with missions that tested both human creativity and Thalkari discipline. They encountered new species, each with unique technologies, strategies, and cultures. Some were hostile, some neutral, and some eager to learn from the successes of humans and Thalkari. Elias embraced each encounter as an opportunity to demonstrate the value of human adaptability and the strength of their bond. During a diplomatic mission to a neutral star system, Elias faced a crisis that would define his reputation further. An alien species threatened to ignite a conflict over resources, and traditional negotiation had failed. Using human intuition and improvisation, Elias devised a strategy that combined diplomacy, tactical planning, and psychological insight. He anticipated the aliens' reactions, adjusted in real time, and ultimately persuaded them to stand down. Seraphine's presence strengthened his position, lending credibility and authority to their proposals. The successful resolution marked a turning point. Humans were no longer merely allies. They were problem solvers, trusted across civilizations to handle situations that required both courage and clever thinking. Ilias felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that the species he represented had earned recognition not through dominance, but through ingenuity, resilience, and moral integrity. Back on the Thalkari homeworld, peace reigned for a time. Ilias and Seraphine trained together, explored the hidden corners of their world, and planned for future challenges. Yet the galaxy was never truly quiet. Signals from distant systems hinted at new threats, unknown species, and opportunities that demanded exploration. Humans thrived on such challenges. They were masters of improvisation, courageous in the face of uncertainty, and capable of adapting where others failed. The bond between Ilias and Seraphine continued to grow. It was more than a tool for survival or strategy. It was a connection of minds, hearts, and purpose. They shared thoughts, instincts, and insights, anticipating each other's actions and learning from every experience. Together, they had proven that humans were not only capable of great feats, but essential contributors to the future of the galaxy. As twilight fell over the floating gardens, Ilias looked out at the stars, feeling the pulse of the galaxy in a way he never had before. Every mission, every battle, every negotiation had tested humans in ways no other species could endure. And yet, they had not only survived, they had thrived. Their courage, intelligence, and adaptability had transformed obstacles into opportunities and opponents into allies. Seraphine joined him, her presence a constant reminder of the bond that had changed both their lives. "The galaxy is vast," she said, "but we have proven that together we can face it." Ilias smiled. "Humans have a way of rising to any challenge. And with you by my side, there is nothing we cannot achieve." The galaxy awaited. New adventures, new discoveries, and new challenges lay ahead. Humans, with their unpredictability, creativity, and courage, were ready. Captain Ilias Kane had started as a rescuer, accepted a life debt, and turned it into a partnership that reshaped civilizations. The bond with Seraphine had transformed both of them, proving that human potential was extraordinary, limitless, and worthy of the stars. As the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, casting shadows across the crystal towers, Ilias and Seraphine prepared for the next mission. The galaxy was immense, full of the unknown, but humans were uniquely suited to meet it head-on. Courage, intelligence, and the willingness to adapt made them exceptional. And this time, as always, Captain Ilias Kane would lead the way. The story of humans was just beginning. Across star systems, civilizations now knew a truth that had been underestimated for centuries. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, partners, and shapers of the galaxy. With the bond between Ilias and Seraphine as proof, the galaxy had a new standard to respect, fear, and admire. Humanity had arrived.